Imagine that you're in the middle of the ocean, with no land in sight, just you, the water, and a grey sky that promises nothing. The waves are not monsters, but they weigh heavy. They don't drown you, but they drag you slowly, towards nothing. That's what loneliness feels like. That's what sadness feels like. It's not an explosive storm, it's a constant tide that robs you of air, strength, desire. And the worst part is that no one sees it. You can smile, work, go out, post pictures, and still feel empty. As if you're disappearing without anyone noticing. You don't know if it's sadness, loneliness, or that mental fog that crushes you from the inside for no apparent reason. You feel disconnected from the world, but more importantly, from yourself. And there's something you need to understand. Life is not going to stop to ask you if you're okay. It's not going to wait for you. It's going to hit you. It's going to take people away from you. It's going to make you doubt everything. It's going to push you to the limit. It doesn't matter how strong you were yesterday. From one day to the next, you can feel sunk without knowing how to get out. But this is where everything is decided. You're not condemned to stay there. You don't need a magic solution. You need a brutally honest philosophy, one that doesn't tell you that everything will be okay, but teaches you to be okay, even when everything is wrong. That's Stoicism. And no, it's not ancient theory or phrases from dusty books. These are principles you can use today, here, in your real life. 8 ideas that, if you understand and apply them, can completely change how you face your darkness. This video is not to make you feel comfortable. It's to wake you up, to help you regain your strength, your focus, your direction. Because loneliness is not defeated with distractions, it's overcome with character, and sadness is not silenced with external noise, it's dissolved with internal clarity. So if you're ready to stop being a spectator of your own suffering and start becoming the protagonist of your story, stay, because what you're about to hear won't be gentle, but it could be what saves your life. 1. Break the spell of the now. You are walking through a long tunnel. There is no light at the end, only darkness, and the further you go, the more it seems like you're never going to get out. But the worst part is not the darkness. It's that voice in your head whispering, "This tunnel has no exit. You're going to stay here forever." That voice is not the tunnel. It's the spell. And if you believe it, you stop. You give up. You become part of the darkness. That's what sadness does when it becomes constant. What loneliness does when it settles in. What depression does when it starts to speak louder than you. It makes you feel that what you are living now is all you are going to live. It locks you in an invisible prison made of repeated thoughts, heavy emotions, and silent despair. The mind starts to play dirty. It tells you that if you're bad today, you'll be bad tomorrow too. It makes you forget that you were ever okay. It steals your sense of time, and the present becomes a sentence. That's what the Stoics called the illusion of emotional permanence. Because an intense emotion, if you don't question it, becomes a believable lie. But here is where your real power begins, understanding that what you feel now is not eternal. Pain is not permanent. Sadness is not a sentence. Loneliness is not your destiny. Everything in life changes. Everything. But the mind, when it's clouded, clings to the present as if it were the only thing that exists, and it turns it into a prison. Epictetus explained it bluntly. It's not the things that disturb us, but our opinion of them. Are you trapped in pain, or trapped in your interpretation of pain? Is what you feel real, or is it an emotion amplified by fear and despair? Breaking the spell of the now means regaining perspective, even if it's a little bit. Even if you don't feel it, even if it's hard for you, because you don't need to feel hope to act with strength. You need will, you need resilience, and that is built with decisions, not with emotions. A useful Stoic practice is to observe the present clearly, without adornments. Ask yourself, what is really affecting me? What thoughts am I repeating? What am I believing without questioning? That observation allows you to take distance, and when you take distance, you regain power. Marcus Aurelius understood it perfectly. In his meditations, he reminded himself that everything the human being feels is fleeting, that even the most intense emotions fade away, that no moment defines your life unless you allow it. Yes, you're in the tunnel. Yes, it's dark. But just because you can't see the exit doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means you have to keep walking. It means you can't let your mind turn this moment into your identity. Breaking the spell of the now is telling yourself, this is just a stage. It's not my end. I'm not going to let the present destroy me. I'm going to walk even if I can't see the exit, and if I have to crawl, I will, but I'm not going to stay here. That's the first step, not outward, but inward, where true freedom begins. 2. Free yourself from the chains of illusory control. You are in the middle of the sea, in a small boat, and the sky begins to crack. The wind blows mercilessly, the waves rise like walls, and everything around you becomes unstable. In the midst of this chaos, you make a fatal mistake. You try to control the storm. You shout at the sky, clench your fists, fight against the impossible. Meanwhile, you forget about the only thing you can really manage, how you hold the rudder. This is how many people get lost. They get tangled up trying to control the uncontrollable. What others think, how they behave, what has already happened, what has not yet arrived. They believe that if they could adjust everything external, they would be fine, but this need for control is an illusion. And this illusion, when not broken, becomes a chain that drags you to the bottom. Sadness intensifies when you feel the world slipping through your fingers, when you want to change what has already happened, when you need others to act as you expect. But the more you try to tighten, the more it slips away. That helplessness, that wear and tear, that frustration arises from the desire to control what was never under your power. Accepting this truth is uncomfortable but necessary. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can control how you respond. And that's where your strength lies. Many confuse letting go of control with giving up, but it's not about that. It's not about resigning, but about focusing. Stop spending your energy on external things and start investing it in yourself. Because freedom is not in dominating the world, but in ceasing to be a slave to it. In your day-to-day, start asking yourself this question: does this depend on me? If the answer is no, let go. If it is yes, act. It's as simple as that. Can you change what happened yesterday? No. Can you change how you remember it, how it affects you today? Yes. Can you force someone to stay by your side? No. Can you strengthen your self-esteem so as not to collapse if they leave? Of course you can. The key is to understand that suffering multiplies when you cling. When you want to control the thoughts of others, the course of things, immediate results. But when you stop doing it, you free yourself. You regain air, you regain energy, you regain clarity. Instead of fighting with reality, start working with it. Instead of demanding the world to change, start changing yourself. Because that's where you have real power. That's where no one can touch you. Absolute control is a trap that keeps you exhausted. It makes you live reacting, defending, surviving. But when you let go, when you focus your energy on what does depend on you, your habits, your discipline, your attitude, your decisions, you start to build real inner strength. Letting go of control is not losing power, it's choosing where you use it. And when you choose to use it on yourself, change stops depending on the world and starts depending on your will. That is the first step towards a freer life. Understanding that not everything depends on you, but you do. And that, although it sounds simple, is more powerful than any storm. 3. Embrace the flow. Nothing is eternal. Think about a river. No matter how violent the currents are, the water never stands still. It flows. It always flows. Sometimes slow, sometimes wild, but it never stops. If you tried to catch a handful of water with force, you would lose it between your fingers. But if you open your hand, the water simply passes. That's how life works. When you try to hold on to something, you lose it. And the more you resist change, the more you suffer. Suffering often does not come from what happens, but from the resistance to accept that it is happening. You want the sadness to go away now. You wish that person hadn't left. You want your life to be as it was before. But no matter how much you wish it, reality is not going to go back. Life changes, all the time. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't warn. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. The problem is that we were taught to seek stability, permanence, total security. But that doesn't exist. Not in this world. Everything you love can disappear. Everything that calms you can change. And if you're not prepared for that, every change will break you. You will live in war with reality, trying to freeze moments, people, and situations. But life doesn't freeze anything. Life moves, always. Accepting that is not coldness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that nothing is eternal, neither the good nor the bad. Joy doesn't stay forever, but neither does sadness. Loneliness is not a destination, it's a stage. What you feel today, no matter how deep it is, will transform. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you will start to heal. You can't build your life on the idea that everything will stay the same, because nothing stays the same. And that, far from being a threat, is an opportunity. Because if nothing is eternal, then pain also has an expiration date. Emptiness also has an exit. This dark stage will also pass. Embracing the flow is letting go of the need for everything to be as you want it. It's to stop looking back with nostalgia or forward with anxiety and start walking with presence. Knowing that everything changes, and that change is the only thing you can expect with certainty. When you understand this, you become stronger. You no longer react with desperation every time something falls. You no longer crumble when someone leaves. You no longer think that everything is over just because something went wrong. Because you know that this too shall pass. And that your task is not to avoid change, but to adapt to it, to flow with it. Life doesn't ask you if you want to change, it just does it. You choose whether that change breaks you or shapes you, and that decision depends on your ability to let go of what was, accept what is, and keep walking. Are you having a bad time? It won't last forever. Do you feel lost? You won't be eternally. All you have to do is resist without hardening, learn without locking yourself in, continue without getting lost. And every time you do, you become lighter, more aware, more free. 4. Illuminate the world, serve and transform. There are lighthouses that do not move, but still change the course of ships. They don't shout, they don't run, they don't push. They simply are lit. And that light, steady in the midst of darkness, can be the difference between getting lost or finding the way. When you feel alone, sad, or on the verge of collapse, the natural impulse is to lock yourself away, to isolate yourself, to protect yourself. But there is something that can break that circle. Stop thinking only about yourself. Yes, it sounds contradictory. You're suffering, and I'm telling you to think about others. But sometimes, the best way out of pain is to stop looking inward all the time. When you become a light for another, even a little, that same light begins to return to you. I'm not talking about denying yourself or ignoring your process. I'm talking about finding purpose in the midst of chaos. Because when you focus only on what you lack, on what hurts, on what you lost, the world becomes small, and there sadness traps you. But when you decide to serve, even in the smallest way, you expand your world, and that gives you air. It gives you strength. Serving is not sacrificing yourself until you disappear. It's choosing, in the midst of your struggle, to do something that benefits someone else. It can be listening to someone who needs to talk. It can be helping at home. It can be giving an honest word to someone who needs it. No matter how small it seems, if it generates value, it transforms. And if it transforms, it lifts you up. When you're on the edge, it's easy to think that you have nothing to give. But that's a lie. What you learned in pain can become a guide for someone who comes after. What cost, you can become shared strength. Your story, no matter how broken it seems, can be the fire that another needs to not go out. And no, you don't do it for recognition. You don't do it to receive something in return. You do it because it connects you. Because when you serve, you stop being a spectator and become part of the movement of life. You're no longer on pause. You're no longer waiting for everything to get better to act. You're making something better, even if it's in a small corner of the world. That's illuminating, not from perfection, but from intention. From the will to not stay in the shadow, from the courage to do something useful with what you're living. Pain, if it stays still, rots. But if it moves, if it transforms into action, it becomes creative fire. You don't need to be okay to serve, you just need to be willing. And if you take a step, even if it's staggering, you're already breaking the pattern. The world needs more people who light up lights. People who, instead of hiding in their pain, use it as an engine. Who, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What can I do with this?" And you can be that person. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have a story, a voice, an action that can make a difference. Don't underestimate what you can contribute, even from the darkness, because sometimes it's from there that the truest lights are lit. 5. Master your mind, conquer your destiny. Your mind is like a wild horse, powerful, fast, unstoppable, but also unpredictable. If you let it loose, it drags you. It takes you through dark terrains, throws you into the abyss, makes you believe that you are just a victim of what you feel. But if you learn to take the reins, you not only stop being dragged, you start to move forward with direction, with strength, with meaning. In moments of emotional pain, the mind becomes your worst enemy. It repeats the same ideas over and over again. It reminds you of mistakes, losses, wounds. It convinces you that you are worthless, that everything is lost, that there is no point in continuing. And since it's inside your head, it sounds like it's you, but you're not. Not always. That inner voice doesn't always tell the truth. Many times it repeats patterns that you learned in the past, ideas that you absorbed when you were broken, beliefs that you didn't question because you were weak. But now it's time to do something different. Don't believe everything you think. Start observing those thoughts for what they are: impulses, stories, constructs, not facts. Mastering the mind is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about learning to separate what's real from what your mind exaggerates. It's about stopping automatic reactions. It's about creating a space between what happens and what you decide to do with it. That space, however small, is where your freedom is born. And with freedom comes the power to choose. That's where your destiny begins. Your story is not written in stone. You are not an inevitable outcome. You are a possibility. And that possibility depends to a large extent on how you train your mind. If you let it think without control every day, you will live like a leaf in the wind. But if you start to observe, question, and direct your thoughts, you start to build a new path. You don't need to be motivated to do it. You need to be determined. Because it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to sit with thoughts that hurt. You're going to have to look them in the face and not let them dominate you. You're going to have to stop looking for distractions and start facing the storm. But if you don't do it, nobody else will do it for you. A powerful exercise is to write down your most frequent thoughts, especially the negative ones. When you see them written down, they lose strength. When you analyze them, you discover how many are false, exaggerated, or repeated. And when you start to dismantle them, you regain control. Not total, but enough so that they no longer manage you. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you are taming the horse. Every time you choose to act even though you are afraid, you are changing the script. Every time you don't let yourself be brought down by an emotion and instead make a firm decision, you are proving that you are not a slave to your mind. You are its master. Destiny is not something magical, it's the result of your repeated decisions. And those decisions are born in your mind. If your mind is chaos, your life will be chaos. But if your mind is trained, clear, firm, then everything changes. Mastering your mind is not a luxury, it's a necessity, because if you don't do it, someone else will. Fear, pain, the past, external voices, they all want to control you. And if you're not awake, they succeed. But if you take the reins, you can go wherever you want. Purpose, real rest, movement, silence. Those are the foundations. The rest often is just distraction disguised as success. Inner strength is not built with excess, but with focus. Not with accumulation, but with clarity. And to have clarity, first you have to remove what is superfluous, what gets in the way, what no longer goes with you. Yes, it's scary to let go, but it's scarier to keep carrying what is breaking you inside. There are people who get lost trying to achieve what they never needed. There are people who empty themselves, trying to fill themselves with things that are of no use to them. And that's not life. That's noise. That's confusion. And if you don't stop, it drags you. Returning to the essential is not going backwards. It's returning to the center. It's regaining direction. It's remembering that you're not here to comply with an imposed script, but to write your own. With your priorities, with your values, with your truth. Every time you simplify, you gain space, you gain energy, you gain clarity. And when the mind has clarity, the heart can breathe. And when the heart breathes, you can start to heal. The magic of the essential is not in doing less for the sake of doing less. It's in choosing strongly, in saying no to what doesn't add up, in protecting your peace as if it were your life. Because it is. You don't need more to be okay. You need less. But let it be real. 7. Turn each heartbeat into a lesson. Your heart beats thousands of times a day. It doesn't warn, it doesn't ask, it doesn't wait. It just beats. And each beat is a brutal reminder that you're alive, even when you feel like you can't go on anymore. Even when you're broken, even when you see no way out, the heart goes on. Even if you don't feel like it, even if the world hurts, even if everything feels against you, and if your body doesn't give up, you shouldn't either. The problem is that we often live asleep. We spend our days repeating routines, locked in thoughts that destroy us, trapped in unprocessed emotions. We breathe, but we are not present. The body keeps moving forward, but inside we are switched off. And in that state we don't learn. We survive, but we don't understand. And without understanding, there is no growth. That's where this idea comes in. Each heartbeat is an opportunity to learn. It doesn't matter if you're okay or if you're on the edge, there's always something you can take from the moment. But that only happens if you're awake, if you don't numb yourself, if you don't distract yourself, if you have the courage to look pain in the face and ask it, what do you want to show me? Sadness doesn't just happen. Loneliness doesn't appear by chance. Depression is not a punishment, it's a signal, an alarm. Something in you is asking for attention. It's asking for change. It's asking for truth. And if instead of running away, you dare to listen, you'll discover that even in suffering there is teaching. That doesn't mean justifying what hurts. It doesn't mean romanticizing pain. It means not wasting it. If you're already suffering, at least get something out of it. Not so that everything makes sense immediately, but so that you have more tools, more wisdom, more awareness. Turning each heartbeat into a lesson is changing the way you face life. It's about stopping asking, why is this happening to me? And starting to say, what can I learn from this? It's about moving from complaint to observation, from drama to responsibility. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You're alive. You're reading this. That's already a victory, because it means there's still something you can do. There's still something you can learn. And if you take it seriously, you'll come out of this hole stronger, more awake, and more aware. And you don't have to understand everything all at once. Start with a single question at the end of the day. What did I learn today, even in the midst of pain? Write it down, even if it's just a word, an idea, a small change. That's already a step. That's already growth. That's already winning. Learning doesn't just come on good days. Often, the most important lessons are born in the silence of sadness, in the emptiness of loss, in the discomfort of uncertainty. And if you dare to be present there, you'll discover that even pain can transform you. Each heartbeat is a call, an opportunity, a reminder. Life owes you nothing, but as long as you're breathing, you can still choose. You can still learn. You can still write your story with strength, with intention, with truth. Don't waste your heartbeats. Use them. Turn them into lessons, because that's where your transformation begins. 8. Forge your spirit in the furnace of adversity. Iron does not become a sword under gentle conditions. It needs fire, blows, tension, friction. Only then is it shaped. Only then is it strengthened. And the same goes for you. Pain does not come to destroy you. It comes to shape you. If you face it, if you don't run away, if you use it as a tool, not as an excuse. Adversity, no matter how tough, can become the field where your character is forged. Not the one you show when everything is fine, but the one that is revealed when everything falls apart. Because there, when you're on the ground, without energy, without answers, without desire, that's where what you truly are appears. You can choose to break. You can choose to give up, or you can choose to turn that pain into the hammer that shapes you. No one is going to forge your spirit for you. No one is going to carry your weight. No one is going to rescue you from what you have to go through. And although that may sound harsh, it's a blessing, because it means that everything you need is inside you. It doesn't matter how difficult what you're going through is. What matters is how you respond, not with pretty words, with actions, with resistance, with firm decisions when everything in you wants to disappear. With real courage, the kind of courage that isn't seen on social media, that isn't shouted. It's demonstrated in silence. Forging the spirit is accepting that you're going to go through moments when you're going to hate everything. Days when you won't find any sense. You won't want to get up. You won't want to talk. But even on those days, you can choose not to give up. And that choice, repeated over and over again, begins to transform you. Do you want to be strong? Then go through the fire without losing your essence. Do you want peace? Then face the chaos without letting it corrupt you. Do you want light? Then cross your own darkness without yielding to it. That's the furnace. That's the process. There are no shortcuts. Most people want to grow without pain, without effort, without falling. But that doesn't exist. Discomfort is part of the journey. So is fear. So is frustration. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you can use it to your advantage. Because adversity shows you the parts you hadn't worked on, the ones that were weak, the ones that needed tempering. Each blow, each loss, each disappointment can be an excuse, or it can be a building material. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. It does, a lot. But you didn't come here to escape from pain. You came to overcome it, to go through it, to use it. Every time you don't give up, you're forging something inside you. Every time you get up when no one sees you, every time you silence your destructive thoughts and do what you have to do, every time you stand firm, even though everything is shaking, you're becoming stronger. It's not about life becoming easy. It's about you becoming indestructible inside. And that's not achieved by avoiding the fire. It's achieved by going through it with intention, with courage, with dignity. Don't wait for life to give you permission to change. Use adversity as a signal, as a tool, as a drive, because if everything is hurting you, then everything is also training you. The fire can burn you, or it can forge you. You decide what it becomes. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment, "I am Stoic," as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.